Today's show, we're going to talk about being molested and denial and sexual abuse and all that. I guess part of the denial is a lot of people don't really even want to talk about it. It's like, hi, how are you doing? Oh, I was sexually molested. Other than that, I'm doing pretty good. Or how are you doing today? Well, I'm having flashbacks of my father molesting me. How about you? Oh, I'm having flashbacks of being molested by my dad too. Oh, okay. But it's really not a common topic, and a lot of people don't want to talk about it. There's a lot of shame that surrounds it, and if you're a male like me and you're sexually abused, that's a toughie because, us males, I think instinctively, we're supposed to be tough, at least physically we're tough, and it's like almost humiliation, or it's like admitting that you're a weakling or something. It's really, really tough to admit. And then also like guilt because I was molested so young. He got into me. He started me at 3. But I'll get into that a little bit later, talking about my personal abuse. I'll stick on the denial right now. But see right here, this is a court document. And it says, please don't sleep with Bradley. So that's what my mom was telling the court, what she said to my adoptive sicko he was a psychiatrist, pedophile father who specialized in child psychiatry, And see, you almost want to deny that. He was a teacher at University of Washington, and he also saw tons of other kids and all that, and like he was a sexual psychopath, so he looked pretty normal on the outside, and he was in a position of power. So that's easy to deny. And then also he got into my psyche so young that I hadn't even developed mentally fully when I was getting molested. I almost think I was like a CIA experiment, if I want to get paranoid about it. I sometimes I really wonder if I was, because I can't even see. That's why part of the denial is it's hard to fathom someone that is even human, because see, most people have morals. It's like, I don't know, maybe 98% of the population think it's wrong to kill. They think it's wrong to steal. They think it's wrong to kill their friends, and they think it's wrong to molest other people like me. That's most of the population. It's almost like a thing from another planet started violating me before I was even psychologically developed, and he got off on it. And it's horrible, and it's terrifying to even think about that something, I don't even think they're human, would start violating like a baby, violating someone that's like 2-3 years old. So it's easy to deny, it's because it's so horrible, it's so unimaginable that the thing was actually capable of it, And I'll show you a picture of the pedophile. This is him. This is the fucking bastard. Now, my friends offered to kill him. That's me right there. Look at my face. I'm all fucking fucked up mentally. But he even looks like a pedophile. A lot of people don't look the part. If I was going to cast a pedophile, I would cast him. Look at his face. You can see what an evil fucking bastard, whatever that thing is that molested me. But anyways, I want to talk about denial. I just showed you a little bit of my stuff. I'll get into my stuff maybe later. I have other videos. I have a blog out now. See, this is the deal. I'm like 50. I've talked to tons of psychiatrists about this over the years, hundreds of friends, but I've never officially recorded it, and like I'm doing right now, I've never ever opened my mouth like you're looking at right now. I've never recorded it and talked about it publicly. But anyways, on the denial, so you have that into play. Then a society wants to deny it. The media doesn't really want to cover it. And if they do cover it, they want to cover it about another country like Afghanistan or some third world country or the Philippines or whatever. They don't want to acknowledge how many people are sexually abused in the United States. And if you read some books like Healing the Shame That Binds You by John Bradshaw and other various books, or if you study the demographics, there's a lot of frickin' people that are molested in the U.S. and they don't seem to put it in the news that much. And you look at the priests and those poor kids and how long the priests got away with it because they were in a position of power. So that enables the denial to continue. And most of probably 99 point, I'd say 100% of the abusers, the child molesters or pedophiles, were actually abuse themselves, and they're just repeating the pattern from all my years of trying to deal with my abuse. I would say that is the case. So they even have denial: the perpetrator, the molester, the child raper. Like my case, my child raper doped me up on drugs. He was a psychiatrist. He had easy access to drugs. Yeah. And he also testified in court for children. So he was buddies with friends in the court, and I'll just stay off of me. We'll stay on the public denial. So people in positions in power and authority figures, who are they going to believe? Are they going to believe a drug addict, or are they going to believe a position in power, a person in a position in power? I mean, I feel horrible for like Dahmer's victims or Gacy's victims or Bundy's victims. Like Bundy, he was in a legal party and he looked normal on the outside, and like women just getting tortured and brutally raped and murdered. It's horrible. And if a person's in a position of power, like my dad was, it's easy to deny because they'd rather believe the doctor than the drug addict. I understand. And I was a drug addict because he put me on fucking drugs when I was 3 years old, and I have documentation of that. But I don't want to get into that. I'm just talking, I have documents of it and all, if you read my blog or see my other shows. So, anyways, also, so you have the perpetrators denying it. You have the people, all kinds of people in all different levels are denying it. The news media doesn't want to touch it. And there's another factor that I figured out is that there are perpetrators or child molesters or people that are in power that want to continue to abuse and offend and destroy people, psychologically destroy people and kill them, mentally, if not physically, because I was murdered mentally too for years. But you have people in power that they don't want videos or people like me talking about the abuse because they want to keep it on the down low. They don't want people to know because they don't want, the people in power want to remain molesting and abusing because they love doing it. They enjoy it, or they're addicted to it. And another factor, in my case, is PTSD, which I have. It's a post-traumatic stress disorder. And it's basically you have memories that are so horrible or so unfathomable, you just bury them in your subconscious, and it's a survival mechanism because if I consciously thought about my abuse all the time, I couldn't function in daily life. It's really, really hard doing this video. It's really, really hard doing the blog that I did and all that stuff because it brings up all the abuse and it makes it so I can barely function. I can barely... if I thought about my abuse, I couldn't do my job. You know, if I think about my abuse too much, I'll crack, and then I'll start having flashbacks of my childhood and they won't stop. And I'll have to get on medication to stop the memories from popping up all the time. You know, so. And with the PTSD, there was, I guess when they first started really openly acknowledging it was when the Vietnam vets came back from the war and they didn't have these memories, and then all of a sudden they would have these flashbacks of these horrible things, these atrocities that they had done to them or they did to other people that they buried, and it came up. And the sad thing is a lot of Vietnam vets became drug addicts or committed suicide because they came back to a country that wouldn't acknowledge their abuse. You know, it's horrible to be abused by somebody and then not to have it acknowledged and to even have it denied. I mean, where do you go? What do you do? You know, and I had that happen to me. I was in the Harborview 3MH mental hospital for a week. And I was 25 years old. I buried my abuse pretty good until 25. Well, intermittently I knew. I mean, you don't frickin' forget when you get violated like me in the way I was. But I buried it, and I was working overtime at this one job, and I was having like a non-stop flashback of the abuse, and it just wouldn't stop. So I went to Harborview Mental Hospital, and I was in there for a week. I saw my dad, I saw a friend of mine, a couple friends of mine, and different people in the hospital. And then at the end of my stay, this woman walks up to me and she goes, "I've known your dad. He's a psychiatrist," which I already knew, at Harborview, and he would never ever do anything like that. And what do you do? I mean, I had one shrink come up to me because I saw a ton of shrinks when I was in there, and he says, "You're not going to get help in this state because your dad's like way too powerful, and you're going to have to go somewhere else, or you're going to have to find some other way of getting help." So I gave up. You know, just like the Vietnam vets, I guess, they probably committed suicide or whatever happened from their PTSD, or the people that are dying today, they're drinking themselves to death, or they're drugging themselves to death, or their outcomes. I mean, see, that's the trouble with that, some programs. I don't want to say programs are bad. I mean, AA and NA helped me out a ton. You know, they helped me out immensely and stuff, but they focus mainly on that you're a fucking bad person and that you caused your alcoholism and you're a prick and all that shit, you know. And see, that's why I didn't get help in AA. I mean, eventually I had to get the therapy first and deal with my child abuse enough to get help in AA, but there's some things that I cannot talk to about in AA. But see, the thing is where I'm trying to go with this is probably 80%, or no, I'll say 90, no, maybe 80, 70% of the drug addicts, people that are addicted to drugs and alcohol, is to cover the abuse. I mean, aside from being doped up by my father and being molested and put on drugs deliberately so he could rape me. I mean, I was too doped up to move or cooperate with the abuse. And you know, I think that's where my drug habit was ingrained in me. And then later in life, when I was in my teens, I kept being a drug addict because I was addicted to drugs. And it hid my abuse, my PTSD, because I kept memorizing or remembering how screwed up I was so I could bury it with alcohol and drugs. But that was the underlying issue. But with the alcoholism, I have a bad genetics. So genetically, in my real family, I was abused by an adoptive father. My real family is genetically alcoholic, so I got that genetically. But, you know, that's another story.